what's up, y'all? It's MMA Analyst here to do my predictions video for UFC 116. Big card. There was supposed to be a couple big fights, but there's still at least one big fight and some entertaining stuff. It looks like a good card. But let's get right down to it. A lot of people have been asking me, what do I think about this main event? Who do I think's gonna win? I threw out a few, leaks, if you want to call it that. Of course, we're talking about Brock Lesnar versus Shane Carwin. Now, before I do get down with these picks, let's get some background information on what I have said about Brock Lesnar in the past. When he first came to the UFC, I said he was going to be a beast. I said he was fast, he was strong, he was powerful, he was big. He was a lot of things that you join up together that normally, they don't go together. Fast and big, strong and athletic. That kind of goes together. But, you can move quickly and, all that stuff. I picked him to lose against Frank Mir. But after seeing what happened in that Frank Mir fight, I did pick him to destroy Heath Herring. I picked him over Randy Couture. I told everybody, yo, I'm rooting for Randy, but sorry, y'all. Randy's not going to win this fight. Brock is just too much of all of those things I just mentioned. And I'm not sure what happened when he fought Frank the second time. But it doesn't matter what I thought. The fact of the matter is, he smashed Frank Mir's face, made him look like a potato head kid after, the little children had played with it and rearranged everything. So, my respect for Brock Lesnar's abilities and, maybe, future abilities, especially the more he learns, nothing but respect there. Again, let's go over it real quick. He does have 4 wins, 1 loss. He lost his first fight to Frank Mir. Since then, he destroyed Heath Herring in a fight where he was still very green. He is still very green right now, but back then, wow, he's learning exponentially. So at that point, he really couldn't try and attempt anything. He just controlled and destroyed. Randy Couture, that's the fight we're going to talk about the most right now. And then he beat Randy Couture. And then there's the Frank Mir fight in which he smashed him. He's a wrestler. He's a professional wrestler. He's an amateur wrestler. He's just everything involved. So now he's taking on Shane Carwin. Now the big thing, let's just go to Shane Carwin real quick. Shane Carwin, what's he at right now? 12 wins, no losses, finished everybody in the first round. That was not really impressive until you added, Christian Welch, Gabriel Gonzaga, and Frank Mir to that list. Then we're like, oh, he's finishing pretty decent dudes in the first round. It's not just, no names or people who are trying out MMA. Frank Mir is where he showed just how powerful he is. I don't know if anybody's going to say that anybody else in mixed martial arts has more power from any position than Shane Carwin. Gabriel Gonzaga, we saw a little bit of that with that, short punch from a dazed Shane Carwin. Flatlined Gabriel Gonzaga. And then prior to that, just beating people down 44 seconds, 1 minute 41 seconds, 1 minute 31 seconds. Just regular business for Shane Carwin, who I think he just recently stopped doing his engineering job. So smart guy too. What's going to happen in this fight though? We already know who Brock Lesnar and Shane Carwin are. What I'm going to tell everybody to do is to look back to the Randy Couture-Brock Lesnar fight. If you can find the fight, watch it. If you can't, listen to what I'm saying. Because that's the fight that matters the most. Randy Couture is the fighter who will most embody kind of what Shane Carwin is in this fight. Closest in previous matches, right? Heath Herring, 2008... not nearly as good as the Heath Herring that was around in early Pride days. That's like 6 years prior to that. Frank Mir, too happy to go to the ground. He was just ready. Let's go. Take me down. You could have, he could have just fell over, and Frank Mir would have happily landed in half guard and said, "Let's start the fight from here." Heck, they could have said, "Frank Mir, we're gonna start this fight in the UFC for the title. We're gonna start this from your guard," and he would have been like, "Sure, let's get it done." Obviously, not the case with Shane Carwin. Shane Carwin's not just gonna give it up that easily. So, Randy Couture is the guy that's the wrestler that doesn't want to get taken down, that does want to try and impose his will. And that's the kind of guy that Shane Carwin is. So this is the only really thing we have to deal with. Shane Carwin's going to come in at around 255 pounds. Randy Couture was 222 pounds or something like that. Shane Carwin's going to be around 33 years old, 31, 32, 33. How old? Let's see exactly. Let's see. 35. Wow. All right. Anyways, it don't matter because Randy's still 10 years older than him. And there's no doubt about it that Shane Carwin is stronger than Randy Couture. Randy Couture's wrestling, yeah, better pedigree than Shane Carwin. But that's that. So, in the fight with Randy Couture, Brock Lesnar came out and they kind of met in the middle with a clash of fists. Now, this is number one of how the fight could go. I think there's about 3 or 4 possible ways. Number one, they meet in the middle and there's a clash of fists. If that happens, Brock Lesnar loses in under a minute. That's the deal. If Brock Lesnar decides that I'm going to come across and we're both going to throw a punch, it doesn't mean he's going to land for Carwin. But that means that he's going to play into one of Carwin's most powerful game plans, which is just power. So if that happens, this fight is 60 seconds maximum. Okay, 65 seconds. Let's give it that extra 5 seconds. But if they come out and they go, bam, that's it. Now, what happened shortly after that was they clinched up, and there was a situation of, we're in a clinch for 2 wrestlers. One of us is going to overpower the other. What I thought was going to happen in this fight was that Brock Lesnar would just be able to, Thor him. Just be able to and that's not what happened. 13 years old Randy Couture, 13 years older Randy Couture, and about 70 pounds lighter Randy Couture was able to more than hold his own. He actually, at one point early in the fight, was able to push Brock Lesnar up against the cage and actually go for his own takedown. He was able to stuff any kind of takedown attempts for a long time in the first round. Basically, it was not a situation where big bad Brock Lesnar was able to just destroy little old frail Randy Couture. He was not frail, I'm just saying. That was a big eye-opener when I said, wait a second now. Against a wrestler, he's not able to just destroy somebody because he's bigger and stronger and a pretty good wrestler back in the day. So that was the first thing. The other thing was when Randy Couture was down, he was able to get back up. And that's another big thing. Frank Mir wasn't trying to get back up. He was trying to maybe submit or sweep or maybe just get to a position where he can move because he was deep in a half guard and some kind of, lockdown and shoulder pressure cross face from hell. But he wasn't really trying to get back up. But Randy was trying to get back up, and he did get back up. The other thing you have to remember is Randy was being a little bit more loose than you would expect somebody like Shane Carwin to be. At one point, Randy Couture actually looked like he jumped for his back up against the cage. A little bit, over-aggressive, I would say, and it ended up in him being taken down. But he tried to jump to Brock Lesnar's back. Anybody who knows, jumping to the back of a wild buffalo is probably not going to work for somebody like Randy Couture. So, this is the fight that I'm looking to see where can I analyze what's going to happen. Now, another thing, at the time, let me check the clock here because there are other fights. Oh my God, it's been 9 minutes. At the time that Brock Lesnar had shown up, 2008, The other main guys that we are now seeing, Dos Santos, they were kind of at the beginning of their UFC stuff and they hadn't done a lot of things. Brock Lesnar has taken a year off. He's fought for 16 months, or at least he was actively in the game for 16 months, and then he's taken around 12 months off. So he's been in ring rust mode for almost as long as he was in fight mode, and it's not like he was making a movie or in contract dispute. He was just trying to live and not doo-doo into a bag for the rest of his life. That's serious. Ever since that last, what's his name, Rampage Jackson fight, I'm not going to ever downplay ring rust ever again. And when you got a guy like Rampage or whoever, Shogun, guys who've been fighting for years and years and years, they take a 12 months off, they come back, they talk about ring rust. What about a guy who only has been fighting for 16 months and take almost 16 months off? Yo, ring rust is going to exist. So what am I saying is going to happen? Since he came onto the game, Shane Carwin hasn't stopped fighting. Neither has Cain Velasquez, neither has Junior Dos Santos. So these guys have all, in my mind, shown that not only are they contenders, but probably guys that would beat Brock Lesnar. One of those guys is Shane Carwin. How does this fight go? Either A, they meet up in the middle, they clash, boom. 1 minute later, Brock Lesnar's knocked out. Option number 2, Brock comes out and tries to muscle Shane Carwin, and that does not work. I don't think he's going to be able to just Frank Mir him. I think he's going to try and have to Heath Herring him, in which he'll have 12 months of layoff to deal with. Shane Carwin's only been training, and in that case, I think he gasses. Somewhere, I think it goes into the second round and he gasses. I also think that if they do clinch up, Brock Lesnar can get put up against the cage and he'll get laid on and he may gas even in the first. And that's one thing you see in the Randy Couture fight where basically he gets put up against the cage and even in the first round, Brock Lesnar is breathing a little bit heavier, etc., etc. That's option number 2. Option number 3, Brock Lesnar only shoots for takedowns, doesn't do any kind of stand-up. If that happens, I don't know. I really don't know. Because I don't know how good Shane Carwin's takedown defense is against a Mack truck. If Shane Carwin's able to, stuff those takedowns or get back up or weather the storm, I still see Shane Carwin winning this fight in the third round when Brock Lesnar is tired. I don't see any way short of Brock Lesnar's chin being able to take a punch from Shane Carwin for Brock Lesnar to win this fight, and on the other way, Brock Lesnar being able to knock out Shane Carwin with one of those, long ass arm extension Dawson punches that he has. So I'm picking Shane Carwin. Come Saturday, I think what we're going to see is Shane Carwin run through Brock Lesnar in under 3 minutes. I think after that, Brock Lesnar is going to fight Junior Dos Santos or something like that. And I think Junior Dos Santos is going to beat Brock Lesnar. I think Brock Lesnar was the big dog in the UFC for a very short period of time, but he didn't get to fight during that very short period of time. And he hasn't also fought any of these other new up-and-coming fighters. So I'm picking Shane Carwin. Now I got to race through the rest of this because it's been 13 minutes. And I'm not trying to do these 20-minute videos anymore because, I don't know if you knew, but now you know. Akiyama was supposed to fight. He was supposed to fight Vanderlei Silva. Sexy Yama, couldn't. Anderson Silva pulled out, broken ribs, busted up knee. Looked like time's catching up with his body, not just his chin. And now he's fighting Chris Lieben, who's coming off of a knockout or a TKO over Aaron Simpson. Before that, he had a TKO over Jay Silva. Look, I'll put this one quick. We all know what Chris Lieben is. Chris Lieben is a guy that, Chris the Crippler. He wants to go out there and knock you out. Akiyama is a more well-rounded fighter, but he did have a little bit of gas issues in that fight against Alan Belcher, which happened to be his last fight, which was also about a year ago. If Akiyama does not gas, he will win this fight. If Akiyama doesn't get into a whole lot of stupid brawling trading stuff, then he will win this fight. I will pick Akiyama by a win simply because he is the more technical fighter. He has a better ground game. He's good with the judo. And his stand up, it's not like it's bad. You know, it's pretty good. The problem will be if he gets into brawls. If he gets into brawls, Chris Lieben can catch him and knock him out. But if he doesn't get into a brawl, I'm picking Akiyama. Also, if Akiyama does not win this fight, this is the Japanese MMA fight. Not, I mean, the Melendez and Aoki one, yeah, that. But this is one big one. Akiyama over in Japan, huge guy, big draw, lots of wins. Hasn't lost since maybe his second or third fight when he lost to 255-pound K1 elite striker Jerome LeBanner. If he comes out here and loses in any fashion to Chris Lieben, that is a very telling tale. Chris Lytle versus Matt Brown, fight of the night. That's why it's been put together. I'm going to have to go with Chris Lytle in this. Chris Lytle, it's going to be a brawl. Chris Lytle is going to go out there and he's going to throw his hands, and Matt Brown's going to throw his hands. I don't see much wrestling attempting going on until somebody gets rocked. Matt Brown's coming off of his loss to Ricardo Almeida, where he got absolutely dominated on the ground. Chris Lytle's ground game is actually pretty good, and if he ever decides to go out there and just beat people because he wants to submit people, he will. Like a Brian Foster fight, Brian Foster took his back for a second. He said, F that. I can't brawl with him on my back. Let me just knee bar this dude and go home with this submission of the night. Before that, he had three fights in a row with a fight of the night. You skip a fight, he had knockout of the night, fight of the night, submission of the night. Basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 honors for some type of something other than night in the UFC. That's what he's fighting for. He's getting the win at least half of the time. I think he's going to get the win here. He's better on the ground. He's got a chin. I don't think Matt Brown's going to just be able to catch him. And I'm picking Lytle for that win. Krzysztof Szynski versus Stephan Bonnar. Krzysztof Szynski coming off the fight with Stephan Bonnar, in which I believe he was winning. Basically, he has one loss to Brandon Vera in the UFC, and other than that, he has all wins. And I'm pretty sure I picked against Krzysztof Szynski a lot up until that Stephan Bonnar fight and the Brandon Vera fight, and then Brandon Vera actually beat him. So there you go. He says this is not going to be a brawl. Stephan Bonnar is always in brawls. He's only in brawls. He has 2 wins out of his last 7 fights. That's since 2006, and those wins are over Eric Schaefer, and Mike Nichols. He has a loss to Forrest Griffin. That was the rematch. In that fight, he tested positive for roids. He lost to Rashad Evans before that. Came back, got dominated against John Jones, early John Jones, who gassed in the 3rd round. John Jones. Then he lost to Mark Coleman. Whoa. 82-year-old Mark Coleman. I'm talking about the same Mark Coleman. And then he had the questionable stoppage to Krzysztof Szynski. Dana White says no matter what happens, Stephan Bonnar is always going to have a job with the UFC. I don't know if that means he'll always have a job with the UFC or always be fighting with the UFC, but he'll always have a job with the UFC. This is most likely going to be 4 losses in a row. Krzysztof Szynski's not really ready to get into this battle, this war anymore. I think he's going to go out there and just try to win this fight by any means necessary. I think he's going to try and do the clinch game some more, so go for takedowns some more, tire him out some more, and just have a smarter fight. I'm picking Krzysztof Szynski. And Kurt Pellegrino versus George Sotiropoulos. This could be a submission of the night type of fight. 2 really good ground game guys. George Sotiropoulos coming off his decision over Joe Stevenson, where a lot of guys didn't think that he had that in him. Excellent fight. Kurt Pellegrino coming off of his rear naked choke over Fabricio Camoes, where he did that head spike and then quickly grabbed his back. I guess it's a legal one because of the situation, but yeah. This is going to be a tough one to pick. George Sotiropoulos showed a lot against Joe Stevenson, but Kurt Pellegrino's game is a lot better than Joe Stevenson's ground game. So in this one, it's a tough one. If this is a jiu-jitsu match, an MMA jiu-jitsu match, Kurt Pellegrino does end up on his back a lot. And George Staropoulos has shown a lot. Normally, I don't like picking the guy who hasn't proven he can beat the other guy, but I'm gonna do it here, kind of like in the same spirit of the Hathaway and the Evan Dunham situation. They didn't fight each other. I'm just saying. I'm gonna pick George Staropoulos. It's not like he's a new guy. It's not. He's been fighting since 2004, but he only has 14 fights. And of those wins, he hasn't shown exactly the type of wins that Kurt Pellegrino has. But Pellegrino did lose to Joe Stevenson, and Staropoulos beat Joe Stevenson, and Staropoulos has some earlier wins against Kyle Noak, and he has some good wins, so I'm going to go with George Staropoulos. There you go. I'm picking Brendan Schaub over Chris Terscherer with the real big question mark. I'm picking Ricardo Romero over the Kimbo Killer, Seth Petrozelli. I'm going with Kendall Grove over Goran Relic. Gerald Harris over David Branch, or Dave Branch. I'm going with Forrest Petz over Daniel Roberts, and John Madsen over Carlos Ramola. How long was that? 21 minutes! Damn! I tried, y'all. I tried, but that first fight was just too big. Damn. MMA, y'all. It's important. So important, it's gotta be a 22-minute video. I tried, y'all.